Let's go!
Let's go!
Alright everybody, welcome back to Backseat Drivers. We're trying something new today. As you can see, we are in our Jeep. And this will be fun. It's going to be very weird. We got some GoPros set up. And we'll just, we'll see how it goes. We've been wanting to do this for a while because we have another podcast that's called Science versus Conspiracy.
Can't remember what it's called.
Over coffee. No, I started thinking about comedians in cars getting coffee. If you haven't seen that, it's a pretty funny Jerry Seinfeld show on Netflix. But it was partially some inspiration for how we do our other podcast because we talk about science. I'm science, he's conspiracy, and we talk about things over coffee. And we've been wanting to do it in our Jeep, but we just never had the setup to get it going.
Yes, we tried it with our 360 camera.
Yeah, it didn't work.
And no wireless mics.
Yeah. So hopefully this is good. Hopefully you'll actually be seeing this. That we've been successful in getting the recordings and the audio done well. So so that was like an unintentional ad for our other podcast. Check it out. And not an ad, but boy, I'm thirsty. I'm gonna have me some
Checo.
Some Checo Red Bull.
And where did you get that from?
Mexico. So
Mexico.
If you can see my burnt nose, my peeling nose, we just got back. Well, actually, sorry to say, he didn't go. But our daughter and I just got back from Mexico. And we didn't go off resort, so there was very little Checo paraphernalia. I wanted some Checo merch. We didn't go off resort. So the only thing I could get was the Red Bull Checo. But I love this because in this one, his name is first.
That's awesome.
I don't know if it always is because I've never seen another branded with the F1 team. We do buy Red Bull like all the time, but I've never had one with Max and Checo on it. And so I don't know if it's because I bought it in Mexico or if it's alphabetical. Mm-hmm. But it has Sergio Perez, then Max Verstappen. And in the two images of the guys, Checo is front
and center.
Yeah. So I really wanted to bring these home, but I didn't want them to explode in my suitcase, so I drank the Red Bull there and brought us home each an empty. I washed them out and I'm drinking water out of it on our way to get some coffee. So I've got one for this guy too.
Yeah, it's somewhere around here.
Yeah. Not mad. We just love Checo. And Max too, to be honest. We're Red Bull fans, so you put yours in the second one. I'm moving it up forward. Yeah. So you can leave all that in. This is banter. This is real life, folks.
This is real life.
Yeah. So I guess before we start talking about the fact that we have the Australian Grand Prix this weekend, we got to go back to the last one. Like, what a debacle with Alonso.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I still can't get over it.
You got third. You didn't get third.
What a
you got
freaking
third
mess
again.
that was. That was an absolute insane debacle. That girl looked really cold at the bus stop. So this is the fun of doing it in the car because you're going to get all these weird insights. Have you gotten any Jeep waves yet? Are you doing Jeep waves?
I'm trying to.
Yeah?
I need one more camera that points out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's going to be weird because then you're going to keep seeing the Jeep wave in the camera.
Yeah.
But it's all good.
This is a test.
This is a test with the emergency Checo system.
Emergency Checo system.
I so wanted to buy some Checo stuff, man. And they had at the airport, that was the only time I saw something else. And it was just a Red Bull hat with the number 11 on it. So.
There was no Checo merch store?
Well, again, I didn't go off resort.
Yeah.
So, like.
You couldn't Checo it out?
I couldn't Checo it out. I love it. That's awesome. But going back to Jeddah, we love Alonso, and that was such a mess. And so I am happy to report, I don't know if you saw this, that the FIA has made some changes, or F1, I guess, has made some changes to the grid spots now. So there's two things to talk about. Because of Ocon in the first race and Alonso in the second race, both getting a penalty about their grid spot.
Right.
That was the first penalty. And that one, I mean, for Alonso, I agree with it because they gave one to Ocon. The debacle came later, of course. But they have widened the grid spot by a total of 20 centimeters.
Okay.
Which, in real life doesn't sound like a lot, but in F1 it is. And they have also, they're trialing, just for this race, a center line as well.
So you can kind of line up to it.
Yeah. So those two things they're saying will hopefully prevent the need to give grid place penalties unless somebody really screws up, right? Like if you had an obvious angle off the grid place, if you go to the wrong spot, which it sounds really stupid, but it has happened. And again, folks, this is not our day job, so we don't have reams and reams of stats and people pulling up data for us, and none of this is scripted. So I don't remember.
Can't you tell? I know it's scripted.
It's not scripted. So I don't remember to whom it's happened, but it has happened.
Latifi?
I know it's, no, I don't think, no, go Tiffy, man, I miss him. But I can't remember to whom it's happened, but it has happened. So,
to whom or to who?
Whom, I believe.
Is it whom?
I believe. So two things for you folks watching this. Feel free to comment in the comments if you know to whom it has happened, and if I am correct in saying to whom. All right, so that's one thing. So there's a bit of news. Now the thing about the penalty with Alonso, they were able to fight it really well for two reasons. And, everybody probably knows by now because it's been 2 weeks since Jeddah, but whatever, I'm telling you anyway. One of the reasons is you're supposed to notify a team within 25 minutes if there's going to be a penalty. The penalty might not be taken and implemented at that time, but at least the team has to be notified.
Right.
And so that obviously didn't happen.
No.
So it was so much later.
They're waiting and waiting and waiting.
It was like after the race, after the podium ceremony, before post-race press conference.
Right.
So it was in between there. So, I mean, obviously that's wrong.
Yeah, because George Russell did the press conference.
George Russell did the press conference. Have you seen... Okay, wait, actually, I'm jumping around. I should go back. The second thing that was the most telling, of course, was they were able to find 7 different incidents of Jackman putting the jack against the car and it just resting, no work being done, in which penalties weren't given.
Oh.
And so they said, it's obvious that at other times that wasn't deemed as being working on the car. And it's not, because the definition is it's working on the car while serving a penalty.
I guess what defines working? Is that working on it or not? Because it is part of the process of working.
It is, but it wasn't like he had even engaged it, It was just like, touching. So they said it's obviously not clear that it was an infraction. The FIA hasn't been clear about it. And so you can bet these rules are going to change. I bet they're going to make it crystal clear going forward. But there's been no official announcement about any rule changes. But yeah, they were able to find, Aston Martin brought forth seven different instances in which drivers did not get penalties. And so the FIA had to agree that, yeah, it's not clear. So no
I bet you
penalty.
they started looking as soon as they reviewed the tape of the pit stop and the guy was touching it.
Oh, shit.
You start looking into this.
So that's the bit about Alonso.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the 0.5 images
Yeah.
of him? So it's like, it's so funny because they posted, George had posted, and I'll put a link in the show notes, but George had posted we're so sorry for Alonso, but we're grateful for this opportunity to get a podium.
Mm-hmm.
And then Alonso responded to it after he got it back with just like a 0.5 of him at the door, as if he's being seen through a peephole.
Right.
Hola. And now he's using it all the time too. I love his sense of humor. And that kind of ties into the good vibe with Aston Martin right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Mike Crack who said...
Mike Crack.
Yeah. Dude's got an unfortunate name. He said that the atmosphere is so good at the factory and even around the paddock that they have to like tell people to go home.
Oh, really?
Yeah. People are wanting to work because everybody is so happy and so hyper and just, completely jazzed up about how well Aston Martin is doing.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So, yeah, that's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that, eh? Being told you have to go home.
Go home.
I think there's very few jobs, I don't know, very few where people would be like, no, you have to leave now. Go.
Mm-hmm.
Bye-bye.
Maybe at Mercedes they're like, Lewis, seriously, go home. Leave us alone.
Leave us alone. Leave us alone. So did you hear about, this is actually a really nice segue, and again, this is not scripted, folks, about somebody who's essentially been told to leave Lewis alone. Did you hear about Nelson Piquet?
No.
Yeah, because he was like using the N-word and stuff about Lewis.
Oh, really?
And yeah. And said some nasty stuff. And I might not be a Lewis Hamilton fan, but there's still no call for that. And
yeah, there's no need for like name calling.
No,
you can not like the
not like
driver,
somebody, and not root for them, but you don't have to.
Don't be a jerk about it.
Exactly, right? A Brazilian court fined Piquet 5 million Brazilian reals, which is about $1 million.
Oh wow, that's a lot.
US. In moral damages for remarks about Hamilton that were racist and homophobic. So, I don't know what Lewis is going to do with the money. I don't think he needs it. I really hope he donates it 50-50 to like fighting racism and fighting homophobia. But who knows?
Mm-hmm. I'll probably buy a pair of shoes.
A pair of shoes. So,
those look like comfortable shoes.
Huh?
Those look like comfortable shoes.
Those look like comfortable shoes. You're doing Forest, right?
Yeah.
So, in this week, I guess that's the episode of #NoFilter.
Yeah.
Nelson Piquet, #NoFilter. Get a filter.
Get a filter.
Nelson Piquet. Keep it shut. And then, like, what I really hated is just because he is Kelly's dad and Kelly is Max's girlfriend, people were taking it out on Max. It has nothing to do with Max. You can have racist idiots in your family and it doesn't reflect on who you are. I had an uncle who was homophobic. Doesn't mean I am. And if anything, it made me even more anti-homophobic. So, anyway.
What else? What else do you got?
What else I got? Are we even getting to this week's race? So we're in Australia. So obviously the Red Bulls have been 1-2 for the last 2 weeks, and they're expected to dominate again. Now last year, Charles won by a significant margin over Checo, who was second by, like some distance. And Max had a DNF.
Right.
So I don't expect any of that to happen this week. Do you?
No, but Max has had some reliability issues with the drive shaft, wasn't it? That had to be replaced and ended up or almost causing a bigger problem on Sunday.
Yeah. But so far, their reliability looks to be good going into this weekend.
I think the big question is, where's Aston Martin going to finish up?
Yeah. So Carlos actually talked about that, and he thinks the Astons are ahead of Ferrari.
Wow.
Yeah. Charles is not expecting a repeat of last year. So both guys have been questioned about it, and they're both like, no. Nah. So I think that it's going to be, very likely the same three on the podium. Max, Checo, and Alonso. I think. Which is just like, it's wild. Now there was this one thing. Some people have noted that there's been a trend for 6 or 7 drivers in the past, I think, for their 101st race.
Okay.
They won.
Yeah?
Yeah. And guess what this weekend is for Alonso? It's his 101st race. But they do not anticipate him winning.
No?
Unless something really goes wrong with the Red Bulls. Because everybody's saying the Red Bulls are dominant. But here's another thing. Max is still sick. Did you know he's been sick since before Jeddah?
No, I didn't know he was sick.
Yeah. And he's saying it's like he's missing a lung.
Ooh.
It's been so hard to recover. So, I don't know if it was COVID or just like a really bad cold, or if he got some pneumonia. Like, I have no idea. It hasn't been actually disclosed that far.
Interesting.
But yeah, Max,
I had no idea.
Yeah, I mean, he's not literally sick anymore, but he still feels like he hasn't fully recovered. So I don't know if that'll play into it or not. I'm gonna put the window up while there's a big noisy truck next to us. So everybody's pretty much expecting the Red Bulls to be dominant, but here's something interesting. Max has never had pole or won in Australia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and neither has Checo. So this could be the year that changes. I believe Seb won a bunch of times, and that was with Red Bull. So
Red Bulls won.
It's not that the Red Bulls can't do it. It's there. So we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to it.
And kind of speaking of Red Bull, AlphaTauri.
Oh, yeah. So talk about that.
Yeah, I don't know too much, and it's just a rumor at this point. But they're talking about changing the name of AlphaTauri because obviously they're part of the clothing brand is a big sponsor for them.
Yeah.
But apparently it's only sold in like 3 or 4 countries.
That's wild.
Yeah, so they want to make it a little bit more well known, like more generic, not generic, but more. They want more sponsor money and stuff. Different
sponsors with larger percentages that can be also more recognizable.
Yeah, more recognizable. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
More recognizable.
Yeah.
They're looking for a brand that's more recognizable.
Well, is it possible that they'll just go back to Toro Rosso?
Possibly.
Because that's what they were before.
Right.
Right? Red Bull, Toro Rosso. So maybe.
I think, well, I heard the report or the rumor from Helmut Marko. So take it for what it's worth, but he...
Hashtag no filter.
Hashtag no filter. But he's also saying different sponsor, changing the name, but also they need to be doing a heck of a lot better.
Yeah, so I mean the pressure's really on Nick for sure, because he had so much. I mean, him and Piastri, I think they both had more buzz than Logan Sargent about being able to really jump in and rock and roll, right? So certainly the pressure's on Nick. And I guess Yuki, he's kind of more the number one now just because of the seniority. So I imagine the pressure's quite great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that. There was no word on time frame or anything like that I read.
Okay.
The news, there might be something else out there, but from what I read, it's just stuff that they're thinking about. And I think it's kind of got to go hand in hand. Better sponsorship dollars, but they need better results.
They need the results, yeah, to warrant the sponsorship too, right?
Yeah.
And speaking of like rock and roll and pressure and stuff, because of Piastri, so he's gotten quite the obviously warm welcome being back in Australia because he's Australian. And people are like joking about how he doesn't deserve it because so far he's sucking, but it's not it's not him, it's the McLarens, right? So that kind of brings up two things, because McLaren, everybody probably knows by now, but Levy is gone, James Levy is gone as technical director, and they've split the role into 3 to try and
co-manage it.
Co-manage and see some results. So I think they're talking by summer break, which is still it's a ways away. So Piastri, unfortunately, he's suffering from the poor car. So people are judging him maybe prematurely. I don't know. We'll see. And but another thing that's funny, so he's had this rock and roll heroes welcome, but you know who else has?
Who?
Danny Ric.
Oh, is he going back?
Of course, yeah. And so it must be really weird for him to be there for the first time as a reserve driver. So he's back in Red Bull at Australia, but his head is like everywhere. It's so funny. I've seen some pictures and like they're doing so much promo, and he's doing like old laps in the Red Bull.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And
I guess it'd be huge for PR for Red Bull.
oh yeah. Yeah.
So even if he's not driving, it's still good publicity.
Absolutely. Yeah. So speaking of not driving, we just
I'm
parked.
driving with no hands.
Ah! Do you want to go in and get some coffee?
Let's go get some coffee.
All right. So I guess the other funny thing that I wanted to mention was, have you seen Carlos Sainz posting on Instagram?
I have not.
I guess what they do professionally. Oh, is it okay that the directional's on?
Yeah.
And the sound and stuff?
We're in a Jeep.
Okay. So I guess what they do with, at the advice of their professional trainers and sports psychologists and everybody, is for adjusting to the time change, they stay up, and it ends up being over 24 hours that they're staying awake.
Right.
Because it's like a 24-hour journey to go to Australia from Jeddah or wherever they may be coming from. Anyway, I guess it's a long trip to Australia. I don't really know. Do you know?
I know it's like next Thursday there.
Yeah. So, in order to acclimatize quickly and deal with the jet lag, drivers are made to stay up. And
Party.
Huh?
And party.
Yeah. I saw Lando actually was taking pictures, and he captioned it catching pigs instead of catching Z's or something like that. I don't know. Sorry, Lando, I did that wrong. But Carlos, I guess, was posting on Instagram while he was on the airplane, and people were laughing because he was like step by step talking about how to beat the time change, and people were commenting that it's like he was delirious from lack of sleep because it was so funny. So, but yeah, I mean, they have a very short time span to get acclimatized, and then like boom, right away into free practice. So you can't be sleep deprived if you're driving a death trap. Like those things go like 300 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, that's insane.
You can't be tired when you're driving one of those. You can't be, suffering from lack of sleep. Right?
Definitely not.
So we stopped and got our coffee. Not an ad, but here in where we are in Canada, in British Columbia, they have Blends coffee, and oh my god, it's so good. I love it. But I think, is that it?
Well, I just wanted to know, when you mentioned about flying and travel and stuff, I just had a question. Do they have their own private jets? Do they fly coach?
What I've seen is that oftentimes team members and crew members and whatnot will be together on a private jet. Rent it out. They might be a large jet, they might be a small one. I've seen other flights where guys from a whole bunch of different teams are on the same plane. So I don't know when and how that difference is more logistically feasible than others.
Right.
But I know for sure the Ferrari guys have a private jet that they're on, and it's like super bougie. And
so what do they do when they pull up to the terminal?
Red Bull too has a bougie.
Yeah. What do they do? Pull up to the terminal, and then the guys jump out and change the wheels. And
Airplane pit crew.
Airplane pit crew, and then they take off again.
Yeah. So, who will have the fastest pit stop this weekend? On that note.
Well, Red Bull has the current winning time.
Yeah, I think they will again.
Yeah, 2.3 seconds.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I said who I think's on the podium. What do you think?
On the podium?
Yeah. What do you think your podium is for this weekend?
Let's see.
I'm saying Max, Checo, Alonso in that order.
So I think for the podium is probably going to be a mixture of the three that have been there before. Maybe slightly different order.
What do you think?
Maybe. Well, I always root for Checo.
Well, I know, but there's a difference between who you root for.
Yeah.
Because if it was who you root for, Sebastian Vettel and Charles Leclerc would have won every race last weekend for me. I mean, last year.
Well, I think one of these weekends, Alonso is going to move up in the podium.
Do you think he's going to move up to second?
I don't know if it's at some point, and probably even win a race.
Do you think he will?
If they keep going the way that they're going, why not?
Wow, that would be something.
Because they often have the pace, and they just need
Everybody's flying around us here, dude.
I know.
Okay.
Everybody's turning.
You should know with this, yeah.
Well, they just have to be faster than the Red Bull on a certain type of track.
Oh, and actually, on that note, I saw that they're trying to figure out what to do with their wings to beat the Red Bulls on the straights, because they said that's the straight line speed right now that's keeping them behind the Red Bulls, and they might even be able to, if they can nail down what to do with their wings on the straight line, they think that there is hope, actually. Yeah, I forgot I read that. So yeah, I'm still gonna go Max, Checo, Alonso for this race.
Yeah. In
that order. What are you gonna do?
Let's go Checo, Max, Alonso.
Okay.
Stroll.
Okay.
It's gonna be a Red Bull, Aston Martin walkout of the top four.
Okay, let's see. Hope you folks have enjoyed this in our Jeep. Let us know what you think. Be sure to leave comments. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Again, this isn't our day job, but we'd certainly love the support. And who knows? Maybe it will become our day job.
Maybe it will.
I mean, it is for him, kind of.
Kind of.
Already, because he's the one who does all the videos and stuff. And for our other podcast channels too. So, so we don't have.
I have 2 day jobs.
He has 2 day jobs, and we don't have
And
a
a
team
night
of
job.
people. 10 jobs. Anyway, if you liked it, oh boy. If you liked it, please let us know. If you didn't like it, let us know. And we can.
But be kind.
Yeah, be kind.
Rewind.
There's no need to be rude. And again, our kind of tagline is that we're the only F1 internet podcast for news, results, and analysis, hosted by that guy just totally ran a red light.
Yeah.
2 of the internet's least qualified hosts. That guy is not a qualified driver.
No, he is not. Maybe he's suffering from the time change.
For now, we are Jen and Bob, backseat drivers, and we're having fun talking Formula One.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And